Hello, hi, welcome back to our lovely channel where we talk all things hair, skin, and the occasional travel. So today I thought I would share some of the mistakes that I made when I went back to being natural and how I have mitigated those mistakes and have ensured that my hair is healthy again. So unfortunately, my hair has not been healthy throughout my natural hair journey. I think a lot of people can attest to this, that sometimes in your natural hair journey, you will have some ups and downs, and your hair will sometimes get damaged, and you will have to, start again or pivot and figure out what actually works within your hair regimen and how you basically take care of your hair. So I think it was in 2018 where I realized that my hair was not looking so good, and I essentially had to start again and figure out what exactly am I doing wrong and how can I fix that problem. Luckily, I did realize this when it wasn't too late, so I could hide some of the issues that I was realizing about my hair, but I was able to mitigate this and get my hair back into its natural trajectory again. So I will share basically what I did, the mistakes that I've made in my natural hair journey, and what I have done to make sure that I do not repeat those mistakes again. So one of the biggest mistakes that I made, and just by the way, these experiences might not be similar to yours. You might have done something that I've done and it might have never done anything to your hair, but we move. The first mistake that I made was over manipulation. I thought this was going to be beneficial to my hair, and you know what, with over manipulation or manipulating your hair, sometimes it can be very beneficial. You just have to make sure that you manage it very well and you're not overdoing protective styling. But I overdid it. So in 2018, I essentially was braiding my hair more often than I should have been braiding. And while it was braided, now and again, I would take care of it, but my issue was I wasn't consistent. And that essentially caused breakage in my hair. This was coupled with other things. So there are certain times where I would, still wash my hair, still condition my hair and ensure that my hair underneath the style is protected. But when I take down my hair, I wasn't consistent with the way in which I was taking care of my hair. But the first major issue that I had was over manipulation. So with over manipulation, as I've said, it might be okay for you. You just have to manage it well and make sure that you are taking care of your hair in its style and when you have actually taken down that style. So to combat the over manipulation style issues, this is an obvious one. I had to basically stop manipulating my hair completely, just to see how I can fix the issue that I had. Now, what I do, I make sure that only twice a year I will braid my hair with fiber, and then any other time I will just manipulate my hair using my own hair. But now I do not constantly braid my hair, constantly style my hair, because I've realized that it causes a lot of pulling and tugging, and my hair ends up being very fragile and then it breaks very easily. I guess that's just the way my hair is. But I only braid my hair twice in a year, and then the rest of the times I will just manipulate my hair with my own hair. The second mistake that I was making, and this has to do more with my regimen and not being consistent, it was the fact that I was not sealing my hair. In fact, let me just say I wasn't really doing the lock method properly. I do the L.C.O method, but some people do the lock method, but I wasn't doing it properly. So essentially, lock method or L.C.O, the L is liquid, C is cream, and the O is for oil. And to be honest, I was always either just using a cream and it ends there. Sometimes I was using a styling cream. And my gosh, and a styling cream is not even a moisturizer. And then there are times where I'd use a butter. But I hardly started off by using a liquid, which is very, very important because the liquid is what moisturizes and hydrates your hair. And if you are not starting with that, then if you use the butter and the oil, you are essentially not sealing any moisture. You are just sealing in dryness. So that's one of the mistakes that I made. I was not consistent with sealing my hair, and I was also not consistent with doing the lock method. The other mistake I made, the fact that I wasn't hydrating my hair as often as I should. Natural hair in general is very dry. That's just how it is. So if you are not moisturizing your hair or hydrating your hair often, then you will always be frustrated with the state of your hair. So it's very important to always make sure that you are hydrating your hair, you are moisturizing your hair. I have spoken about the difference between hydrating and moisturizing, and I will link it in the cards. But yeah, this side, somewhere there. So it's very important to always make sure that moisturizing and hydration is a huge part of your natural hair routine. That's something that I wasn't really consistent on, and it's something that I now am very consistent with, and I've seen how much healthier my hair is. So whenever I'm doing my lock method, I always start off with, for me, I start off with water. In winter, I usually use warm water, and then in the warmer seasons, I usually use room temperature water. And then I will follow up with a butter, and then I will seal it with an oil. So butters, a lot of people like using them mostly in winter because they are thick and they can help you to retain more moisture or seal more moisture. But I live in Bloemfontein and it's very dry here, so whether it's warmer season, colder season, I always use a butter because it just helps to make sure that my hair is moisturized for a prolonged period. Another big mistake that I was making when it comes to taking care of my hair, I was obsessed with using my comb. I have about 4 combs. I have 2 white tooth combs. I have a pick, a hair pick, also known as an Afro comb, and I have another one. I don't even know what it is or where it is. But I was using combs quite a lot. I was using it to style. I was using it to detangle. Whenever I'm handling my hair, I was using my comb. And for me, that was not conducive at all because, as I said earlier on, my hair is quite fragile. And even then, I wasn't really ensuring that my hair is properly moisturized or hydrated before I use a comb, which is very important because if you comb your hair while it's dry or you comb your hair while it's too wet, you are essentially going to break your hair because it's fragile, whether it's wet or it's dry. I wasn't really intentional with ensuring that I don't use my comb at all, or I make sure that my hair is moisturized before I use a comb. I really didn't take that seriously, and that unfortunately caused a lot of breakage. There is this misconception that if you have natural hair, you are supposed to comb it all the time, and to be honest, that is not the truth. You can actually use your fingers to style your hair. There is no need for you to comb your hair. Now at this point, to mitigate my obsession with using a comb, I don't use a comb. I don't use it as much as I used to. I use my comb during times when I actually want to trim my ends. But if I'm not doing that, I don't use my comb. If I want to wear my hair out and I want to pick it from the roots, then I will use a comb. But I rarely use a comb now. And yeah, so I really want to encourage you, if you're someone that always uses a comb, just try to not use a comb. You can brush your hair with a brush that has very gentle bristles and use a styling gel or whatever gel you want to use, but there's literally no need for you to comb your hair from the root till your ends. And that was the misconception that I had in the past about styling hair, but now that I know better, I don't do that. So some of the things that I started incorporating to get my hair healthy again, I then started doing hot oil treatments a bit more often. Initially, I was doing hot oil treatments every single time I would wash my hair. This is weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, but I was doing them all the time just to kind of stimulate growth again and to get my hair to be a bit strong again, because that's essentially how hot oil treatments help with. So that's what I did. And then when I was a bit satisfied with how my hair was in terms of strength and health, I then started doing them once a month. So hot oil treatments are very, very helpful. You just need to be cautious on which oil to use depending on what your hair likes. Whenever I'm doing a hot oil treatment, I do like using very thick oils. Your castor oil, especially for me, I love using a thick oil. But when I'm sealing my hair, I love using light oils. I have shown the oil that I usually use, which is from Aunt Jackie's, the grapeseed oil. It is basically mixed with other oils. The next thing that I did was to ensure that I cut off my damaged ends more often than I usually do. Right now, because my hair is much healthier, I cut my damaged ends about twice in a year. I have actually done a video on how to cut your damaged ends, and I will link it in the cards. Cutting your damaged ends is very, very important so that it can help your hair to grow healthier again. It won't stimulate hair growth because you are cutting ends. And what stimulates hair growth is just the health of your scalp. But it's very important to make sure that you cut your damaged ends as often as you see fit, because as you handle your hair, you will know when it is due for a cut. Second last thing that I did was basically sticking to what works. I've realized that for me, just sticking to 3 products every time I do my regimen when I'm moisturizing is very, very helpful. There's no need for me to do too much. I always make sure that I use water, I use a butter, and then I use an oil. I might interchange between brands, but as long as my regimen stays the same and it stays consistent, I always make sure that I stick to what works. So that is how I've ensured that my hair goes from the nonsense and the damage that it had to the health that I'm now experiencing. And then the last thing is detangle, detangle, detangle. If you don't detangle your hair, it's very easy for it to form knots, for it to tangle, and for it to be difficult when you do style it. So that is something that I do every time I handle my hair, specifically during my wash days. And I love using my fingers. It makes more sense than using a comb. This is essentially what I do all the time. Always detangle your hair. It's very important to just make sure that you stick to what works, detangle your hair, cut your ends when you see that it's time. Incorporate the lock method into your regimen. You will see which products work. But always just make sure you start off with a liquid, use an oil, and then a cream, or vice versa with the last 2. And yeah, the natural hair for me, I've realized that it's really not difficult. A lot of people find that natural hair is difficult. And I think it's because you make it difficult. It's really not difficult. It's a matter of just knowing what works for you and sticking to that. You don't have to comb your hair all the time. Just ensure that your hair is healthy and happy. So that's essentially how I got my hair from the unhealthy state that it was in to how healthy it is today. I hope that this was very helpful for you. And if there is anything that you have done, if you've experienced something similar, please share it in the comment section below. Otherwise, I will see you guys on my next video.